So how do you make those critical, high-stakes decisions when you're facing chaos, uncertainty, and an enemy who's thinking right back at you? Well, for the U.S. Marine Corps, the answer is a really powerful framework called the Marine Corps Planning Process, or MCPP. We're going to dive in and break down exactly how this process turns mind-numbing complexity into clear, decisive action.
You know, the legendary strategist Colonel John Boyd absolutely nailed the core challenge right here. In a completely chaotic world, we have to create mental models just to make sense of it all. And the MCPP, it's exactly that. It's a shared mental model, a structure for sense-making, so that an entire command, an entire team can understand a problem, create solutions, and then act as one unified force.
In any conflict, there is one resource you can never, ever get back, and that's time. The MCPP is engineered from the ground up to win what Marines call the time fight. But here's the secret. It's not just about moving faster. It's about thinking better. It's about structuring your thought process to allow for rapid but still very sound decisions when every single second counts.
All right, so here's our roadmap. We're going to start with why the MCPP even exists in the first place. Then we'll walk through the 6 core steps of the process itself, talk about the guiding principles that make it work, see how it fits into the bigger military picture, and then finally, we'll look at how a plan actually becomes decisive action.
So, first things first, why do we even need a process like this? Well, it's because every single military operation is plagued by what strategists call fog and friction. Fog is all the uncertainty you have about the enemy, about the environment. And friction? Friction is all the little things that just inevitably go wrong. The MCPP is the tool that's designed to cut right through all that chaos.
And that really brings us to the fundamental question that every single leader faces. You're right here, stuck in a chaotic and uncertain situation, and you want to get over there to a very clear objective. So how do you build a reliable bridge between those 2 points? Especially when you've got incomplete information in an environment that is constantly changing.
The answer is the MCPP. Now, it is absolutely crucial to understand that this is not some rigid step-by-step checklist. You got to think of it more as a cognitive tool. It's a disciplined framework that masterfully blends the art of a commander's intuition and experience with the science of detailed analysis from the staff. Okay, so how does the MCPP actually build that bridge from chaos to clarity? The answer lies in its 6-step framework. And this is a scalable process, used by Marine units of all sizes, from a massive expeditionary force all the way down to a single battalion.
Think of this like the assembly line for creating a solid military plan. It moves logically from truly understanding the problem to developing options, stress testing those options, picking the best one, writing the actual order, and then finally handing it off to the troops who are going to execute it. So let's take a quick look at each step.
Everything, and I mean everything, starts here with problem framing. This is arguably the most critical step of the entire process, because if you misdiagnose the problem, every single solution you develop is going to be for the wrong fight. This is an intense effort to define not just what has to be done, but why. That ultimate purpose that's going to guide every action that follows.
Okay, so once the problem is framed, the team develops what are called courses of action, or COAs. These are your potential plans, your options. But they can't just be any idea. Each one gets filtered. Is it suitable? Will it actually get the mission done? Is it feasible? Do we have the people and the gear to pull it off? And is it acceptable? Is the potential reward really worth the risk involved?
This is where the plan gets thrown into the fire. COA wargaming is basically a mental stress test. The team plays out the plan, move by move, against what the enemy is most likely and most dangerously going to do. It's this disciplined contest of action, reaction, and counter-reaction that finds all the weaknesses in your plan before they become casualties on the battlefield.
So, after the wargame, the staff presents these refined options to the commander, laying out all the pros and cons of each one. And this is that magic moment where the science of staff analysis meets the art of command. The commander weighs the data, but ultimately, they apply their own experience, their own gut feeling and intuition to make that final decision. This is the plan we're going with.
With the decision made, that chosen plan has to be translated into an official operation order. And this is the meticulous part. It's about turning concepts, graphics, and whiteboard notes into a formal document that gives subordinate units everything they need to know. their mission, their specific tasks, and all the coordinating instructions to make sure everything is perfectly synchronized. Look, a perfect plan is absolutely worthless if the people executing it don't understand it. So this final step, transition, is that critical handoff. Through really detailed briefs, rehearsals, confirmation briefs, the planners transfer full ownership of the plan to the subordinate leaders who are going to carry it out. This makes sure everyone is on the exact same page and ready for action. But here's something you have to remember. Even though we've laid these steps out 1 through 6, the MCPP is not a straight line. Not at all. It's an iterative loop. Insights you gain during wargaming in Step 3 might force the team to go all the way back to Step 1 and completely reframe the problem. It is a continuous cycle of learning and adapting.
So, those are the steps. But what are the core ideas, the philosophies that make this whole thing actually work? Let's take a look at the guiding principles that give the MCPP its real power.
First and foremost is the commander's intent. This is, without a doubt, the single most important element. It's the commander's vision for the purpose of the operation and what winning looks like, the desired end state. Because when the plan inevitably makes contact with the enemy and starts to break down, the intent is what allows subordinate leaders to use their own initiative and adapt while still working towards the same common goal. Then you've got the single battle concept. This forces planners to see the battlefield not as a bunch of separate chessboards, but as one interconnected system. The actions of the ground troops, the aircraft, the logistics convoys, those aren't separate fights. They are all gears in the same machine, and they have to be perfectly synchronized to work. This also highlights a key duality inside the MCPP. It integrates both conceptual and detailed planning. So, conceptual planning, that's the art. It's about wrestling with the problem to make sure you're solving the right problem. Detail planning is the science. It's building the practical, synchronized, step-by-step solution to actually solve it. So how does this Marine Corps process fit within the bigger picture of the entire U.S. military? Well, it doesn't exist in a vacuum. It is specifically designed to plug directly into the joint planning environment where all the services have to operate together. You can think of military planning in a few different tiers. At the very top, for major operations, you have the Joint Planning Process, or JPP. That's used when all branches of the military are working together. The MCPP is the Marine Corps' version, and it nests perfectly inside of it. But what happens if you don't have weeks or even days to plan? Well, a Marine Expeditionary Unit, a MEO, is a rapid response force. They need to act fast, and for them, there's an accelerated version called the Rapid Response Planning Process, or R2B2, which condenses this entire thing into a remarkable 6 hours.
And this leads us to the ultimate question, right? After all this intense, rigorous work, what's the goal? Why go through such a detailed and sometimes exhausting process?
It all comes down to this single, incredibly powerful idea. The MCPP is commander-driven, and it's centrally planned in order to create a shared understanding and a rock-solid foundation. But the entire purpose of all that centralized effort is to enable decentralized execution. It's all about creating simple, flexible plans that empower subordinate leaders on the front lines to seize the initiative and win the fight.
So, we'll leave you with this thought. The MCPP is a battle-tested framework for creating clarity from utter chaos. So now think about the challenges you face in your own field, whatever it may be. How could applying these principles of truly framing the problem, of analyzing all your options, and acting with clear, unwavering intent, how could that sharpen your own leadership and your own decision-making?